Hi, welcome to the session number 3, tutorial number 4, Estimate Activity Resources. In this particular tutorial, we particularly talk about the process inputs, tools and techniques and outputs valid for Estimate Activity Resources process. So obviously, at the end of this particular video, you'll be able to understand the process inputs, tools and techniques and outputs used in activity resources estimate process and be able to use them when the right time comes. Now let's have a look at process tools and techniques. Expert judgment. Expert judgment is a technique that is used to gather the information in terms of resource activity planning. In order to plan the resources required for a given project, it's worthwhile to have a discussion, a set of discussions for that matter, with the experts for the given domain, given subject matter area. This will help the project team to understand what had happened in the previous projects, what are the concerns, what are the considerations we need to take into account in planning for the resources for the given project. This will help in mitigating the risks involved with regards to the resources. Second technique that is discussed is bottom-up estimating. We already discussed this technique as a very effective way of estimating the resources. Bottom-up estimating aggregates estimates of individual activities or work packages. It allows estimations of larger project segments or whole project in a systematic way, starting with the smallest, easily manageable pieces of work, rolling up to the packages and the whole project. Making sure you have enough money to complete your project and finish it within the time frame requested can be stressful if you lack important data. Analogous estimating is the act of using former projects to estimate how long or how much a current project will take or cost. In other words, it's a technique that centers on comparison. This means that the more data that is available, the better estimate will be. Thus, collecting data for each project will build up a database that can be used in future projects for comparisons of cost and time. When can analogous estimating be used? Well, analogous estimating is a great tool when the current project you're working on has very limited information or has no actual cost data. Without enough information to accurately decide the time frame or cost, it's important to find ways to gather this information. For example, if you're creating a video for a customer and decide to use analogous estimating, you would look for past videos that are similar. So let's say the new video is about a new business in town and needs to be about 90 seconds long. After doing some searching, you found two videos that were done in the past. One was for an upcoming charity event, and the other was for a new restaurant. Obviously, the restaurant video is more in line with your current project. Even better, the previous video for the new restaurant was also roughly 90 seconds long, which helps with comparison. When you're done looking at the past project, you realize that the total cost for the video that was created 6 months ago was $2,000. So you can estimate the cost to create your current video will be slightly higher due to the 6-month time window. The cost and the time frame for a project can be very important considerations. Being able to determine each of these factors can be a bit challenging without the right tools. Come along as we learn about parametric estimation. Imagine that you work for a company that completes many projects each year. Let's also imagine that you have been the project manager for many of such projects. Now, what would happen if for the next project your company chose a different project manager who has never worked before? What advice would you give to that new project manager? How can the new project manager fall within the parameters of strict budget and time frame the company is pushing for? Perhaps you might suggest to the new project manager that she or he utilizes parametric estimating, which is an accurate way to determine both cost and time for a current project using data from past projects with similar variables. Parametric estimating is the task of looking at the past projects to get to a good estimate of how long a current project will take and how much it will cost. It also allows you to measure individual tasks within the project to get to more accurate cost and time frames. Parametric estimating requires you to know some of the basics about your current project so that you can match it up with historical data. First, you need to know how many units you will be producing. This is because you will need to figure out how many hours you will need to produce each of those units from previous projects. Keep in mind that units can be anything from manpower, supplies, equipment, and any individual task that can be measured. Second, you will also need access to past projects. Parametric estimating needs historical data to make an accurate estimate about your current project. Next, data analysis, on which we are going to talk about alternative analysis. Alternative analysis is the evaluation of the different choices available to achieve a particular project management objective. It is an analytical comparison of different factors like operational cost, risk, effectiveness, as well as shortfalls in an operational capability. In this context, we are particularly talking about planning resources. It requires different tools such as life cycle costing, sensitivity analysis, cost benefit analysis, etc. With alternative analysis, options to the solutions are identified to satisfy the needs of an existing or new program. It's one of the crucial documents produced needed for program reviews and milestones within a project management plan. Most project managers need an alternative analysis before they can even start with the program. The recommendations from the alternative analysis determine whether another program should commence or if the existing one should be continued. Alternative analysis is often performed to give decision makers choices for continuing existing programs or starting a new one. With this, it identifies cost effective actions to avoid duplication of efforts as well as decrease the risk in delivering successful programs in the future. In terms of activity resource estimating, it's very crucial that you look into the resource aspect, the costing, and the time frame in order to get the project completed. Project management information systems is also another important process tool that can be hugely useful for the project managers and project management team to plan the resources. Project management information systems may give you the right facts, right data in order to make the resource decisions. So make use of that when you plan for your resources. Another widely used technique is meetings. Meetings can be absolutely great in order to drive the right resource planning decisions. Bringing together functional managers, project managers, and key stakeholders and subject matter experts together can help you to assess the resource needs for your project. This is widely used and primarily at the initial phase of the project. This is one of the main techniques used by the project management teams. Yet, having the meetings, we need to ensure that we run the meetings effectively in order to get the right results. Recording the minutes and action items, identifying the next immediate action items will make those meetings so effective and help the project managers and the managers to plan the resources for their project. Another important output is the basis of estimates. The basis of estimates is an important tool in project management. It all involves estimators and project managers to calculate the total cost needed for the entire project. It is used to support proposals, bidding, and executing a project. In this context, we are particularly interested about the resource planning. In a nutshell, the basis of estimates is a method of documenting different important aspects of the project cost estimate to mitigate the cost risk of the project. It should be a clear document so that those involved in project management will be able to understand as well as assess the estimate. It will make it easier for those in the project management to determine the cost, funding options, pricing basics, cost risk, allowances, opportunities, and many other using standard practices. The basis of estimates requires attachments which include estimate deliverable checklist, reference documents, benchmarking report, risk analysis, and reconciliation reports, etc. It's important to take note that the basis of estimates is concise, factual, and should describe techniques used to create the cost estimate. A well-written basis of estimates can help determine both the risks and opportunities involved in the resource management planning. Another output of activity resource estimating process is resource breakdown structure. In the previous tutorials, we already discussed in detail about resource breakdown structure. To summarize, resource breakdown structure is a hierarchical list of resources involved in a given project context. Resources include human resources and non-human resources such as materials, services, machines, equipments, etc. Having a clear resource breakdown structure will allow the project management team to ensure that the resources are correctly distributed among the activities. The last output is project document updates. It's not one single document that you may need to update. It's going to be a set of documents. In terms of resource estimations, there are three major documents that you will have to update. They are activity attributes, assumption log, and lessons learned register. Activity attributes typically refers to the specific components that make up an activity. This can include descriptive factors of the activity at the onset or can also refer specific characteristics that may become relevant at a larger phase of an activity. Activity attributes can be sorted, organized, and summarized according to some specific categories. Some type of activity attributes can include those related to time needed to complete specific components, cost related to the completion of an activity or of some specific components, activity codes, responsible persons, and persons involved in the activity, specific location in which the activity may be taking place, and other miscellaneous categories into which these attributes can be conveniently and appropriately organized. Activity attributes can also include discussion of specific constraints that may make completion more difficult. In a nutshell, the resource estimations will have a huge impact on the activities of your project. Therefore, it's important that you keep activity attributes updated timely. The second thing is assumption log. During the project life cycle, an assumption log is required to understand what assumptions have been made in the planning and management of the project. An assumption is a key piece of information upon which project plans and decisions are made. This information has not or cannot be verified and therefore is classified as an assumption and is recorded on the assumption log for review throughout the project. An assumption log is created during project initiation when forming the business case and the content will be used in the project chart. At this stage, high level of assumptions are used. Low level of assumptions based on the tasks and products are created during the project life cycle and the assumption log is maintained and reviewed throughout. Assumptions are made throughout the project in order to be able to proceed with activities. But these assumptions can generate a risk or an issue if the assumption is found to be untrue. And then you need to update the lessons learned at the end of the estimate activity resources process. You may particularly pay your attention on the risk register, explicit knowledge that is gained. Explicit knowledge is a knowledge that is directly available and documented. And also pay a lot more attention on the tacit knowledge, which is difficult to capture, which is experience based. And any changes to the definitions may be updated as well. So at the end of the estimation activity resource process, please do update these documents